Welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. Tonight is November the 17th. Rest in peace, Mitchell Chew. It's
Sorry
not...
about that, I got cut off and I know you're already on, but they did walk out on purpose and supported the Indians because they think it is all crap and the country doesn't need.
Sorry about that. A little break in transmission there. That proves it's live, unlike some shows, but there you go. So, yeah, it's been a very strange week. There's not an awful lot of intel that can be delivered tonight. There is some tasty bits, but not much. Not like last week. But there's a lot of shaking and moving going on. Big shaking and big moving. And that takes time. There's lots of threats ongoing. On both sides, I might add. It's not just one way. Not no more it ain't, because we're pushing back. Right, we'll say hello to the Open Your Mind Radio people this week, because they're back doing their normal broadcast on Sunday after they've had their break. So I'm glad they tuned in over the last 2 weeks, and I hope they liked the show. The foundation now has its bank account, so we're now on the last leg, which is the actual funding. The donation button is now operating well, as I understand. So if you wish to donate, all donations are welcome. The more we get in, the more we can help people. You know, I've had to field a number of calls, very sad calls recently, about how many people are struggling. There's people struggling financially, there's people struggling energetically, and there's also people struggling with the volume of truth coming out. We've spoken about this previously, about the truth trauma. And yes, it exists, because we've lived our whole life, particularly in America. I touched on it last week, about how much of our history is complete and utter lies, virtually from day one. And it didn't start with Columbus, but there you go. That's the first big lie, and just went on from there. But we many kind of don't absorb or process the information as it's coming out. You kind of hold on to it lightly, and yeah, it's been put out on that show, and it's put out in this show, and oh my God, it's on mainstream media. And actually there's more information now of what we want. Exposure, revealing the hidden, the apocalypse, as I called it this year. More is coming out on the mainstream media now than it is in the alternative media. It's like a complete 180. Most of the alternative media now is filled with fear porn and total bullshittery, to be quite honest. And I find it sad, personally. I came into this field hoping I would have a raft of friends and a raft of people all on the same page. Fortunately, this year we found out, to our cost, that that's largely not the case. And it just shows you now how much the alternative media has been corrupted by the same clowns that we're trying to bring down. The agencies and the trained shills and trolls. They're all designed to divert you off your path of truth. You know, I named the show that for a reason, and I try to live up to it as much as I can. I can't get everything right. Sometimes things change. Like last week, I held my hand up and says, you know, I called it a Hillary win. And that was correct in certain parameters. but certain things change, and did change. Trump is not ideal in anyone's book, even the people that helped him into the White House. But this is what we have currently. It's far less dangerous than Hillary would have been. You know, I'll have more news on her later in the show. It beggars belief, trust me. So alternative media now is pretty much spent as it is. Randy Morgan has done a fantastic job exposing many of it. We've exposed some on this show. But it's just a raft of fear porn. This is coming together, that's coming together, Nibiru's coming down again, and on and on and on and on. And this show, and Cosmic Voice, when I was on there, spent much of the time counteracting it. Every one of those counteracts was correct. So, Mr. Trump is busy appointing and also playing his old job, The Apprentice. You're fired. Mr. Christie, the first to go. First of many, as I understand it. Those of you in New York and New Jersey will know how corrupt that man is. So that's a good start, I might add. Given Trump's connections to New York, it's kind of surprising to some, but maybe a pointer that he will not allow to appoint certain individuals with free will. Not all of them, but that was a good start. John Kerry, Mr. John Longface Kerry, is still trying to convince no one that climate change is real. You know, you would think he would have given up by now. There must be about 40,000 scientists have all said it's all a pile of crap. But Mr. Kerry gets sent out like the puppet he is to try and convince people to give them loads of funds, which won't go into climate change. It just goes into black projects and all kinds of other dodgy programs, as we all know. So on he carries Mr. Kerry. I would request Mr. Kerry to go and do us all a favour, get on his bike again and cycle off the edge of a cliff. That'll be real change, in my opinion. As was forecast on this show a couple of weeks ago, ISIS is now getting routed by the Iraqi army, big time. This has been confirmed this week. Over 1,000 dead has been reported this week, and we do not expect ISIS to be operational anymore come the end of the year. It may be sooner. So that will be the end of that set of fun and games. So where are we next? The new Trump aide, Steve Bannon, he spoke out in a conference in the Vatican back in 2014, and he ripped into the big banks. So this is a good sign. I hope he follows it through. And their role in the 2008 financial crisis, he ruled that no one to date has been held accountable. Well, I hope Mr. Bannon now starts holding people accountable. He's in position. You know, you can't go to conferences and talk about it and then get put in a position to do it and do nothing. So I hope Mr. Bannon lives up to his word. So he said he went on further and said it helped fuel the populist fury and groups like the Tea Party. At the conference, the investment banker was asked about poverty and proceeded to rip off on the role banks played. The 2008 crisis, which, by the way, I don't think we've come through yet, is really driven by greed only. much of it driven by the greed of investment banks. He went on to say his old firm, Goldman Sachs, traditionally the best banks, are leveraged at 8 to 1. So that's $8 for every one, or 8 ounces for every 1 ounce of gold. Of course, they're leveraging, some of them are leveraging gold and silver at 100. And eventually, if everyone calls in the asks for the actual metal in hand, they would not have sufficient. JP Morgan's in big trouble over that. So normally the best banks are leveraged as 8 to 1, but when we had the financial crisis in 2008, the investment banks were leveraged at 35 to 1. And yet, not one criminal charge has ever been brought to any bank executive associated with the 2008 crisis. You know, it's 8 years now, and everyone just walks away scot-free. One hopes Mr. Trump inserts a proper justice system. Maybe he could invite Anna von Wright to the Supreme Court. That would be an interesting selection. At least she has a history of knowledge, unlike some. And in fact, it gets worse. No bonuses and none of their equity was taken either. So part of the prime drivers of the wealth that they took in the 15 years leading up to the crisis was not hit at all. Nothing. And he went on to say that this fuels one of the populist revolt that we're seeing as the Tea Party. So I think there are many, many measures, particularly about getting the banks on a better footing, making them address all the liquid assets they have, which is very little, as I know. I think you will need a real clean-up of the bank balance sheets. So that's Mr. Bannon, who's Trump's new aide. And he said the Republican Party raised eyebrows at its convention in July, a month before Bannon joined the Trump campaign, when it approved a plan to reinstitute the Glass-Steagall law that separated commercial and investment banking. I remember Drake was calling for that a lot on Cosmic Voice. I don't know the full details of what it entails. Well, he seemed to think it was a good idea, and so do many others. So it's a case of we'll see. Right, you know, Canadians will love this one. The reality is that citizens of the US, the people of the US, minorities or otherwise, many of them have reasons to feel fear and disgust under a Trump presidency, not only from his proposed policies of alienation and repression, but also from those supporters of his who appear to have white power aspirations have now been made official. But it's also true that the people of the United States, particularly Arabs and Muslims, must not allow this election result to force them to act as frightened children. There are murmurs of migrating to Canada after Trump had won, and this translated into reality last week, with the Canadian immigration website reportedly crashing as it became clear the Electoral College votes had favoured Trump. So you have to wonder how these reactions would make one pause and wonder how long these same people would last under the Arab and African dictatorships and the occupiers the US has propped up and maintained positive ties with over the years. You know, he's not the ideal candidate, but if you thought Hillary was the right one, then you're not the ideal person to judge, in my opinion. Chelsea Clinton has decided to do a congressional run. Really? do we really need another Clinton? We haven't had enough with the Bush family without having a succession of Clintons muddying the political. Please sit down and please go and teach your parents how to act and behave like a proper human being, would be my advice to her. Stay away from politics. We don't need more Clintons. A mother's now blaming Comey. Yes, Mr. Comey was the scapegoat. Mr. Comey had no choice to implement what he did a week, 10 days before the election. He was told to do it. He had no option. That tells you there's some big hitters really pushing people into doing things that they are not used to doing. There'll be more on that later. Where are we next? South Korea. This is how you demonstrate, I might add. So the president, Park Geun-hye, is facing mounting pressure to step down on Saturday as hundreds of thousands of demonstrators marched in the capital to protest allegations that she let a friend meddle in state affairs. It's funny how those certain cabal puppets have others in the background pulling the strings. So last Saturday's rally in downtown Seoul was the largest so far in the crisis engulfing South Korea, and organisers said some 850,000 people packed the streets, running through the city centre, including a 12-lane thoroughfare. Police downplayed the crowd to 260,000, and it was the third weekend protest rally since Park's first public apology on October the 5th, when she admitted she had sought the advice of her friend in state affairs. The acknowledgements only served to fuel the public anger and suspicion over the secret confidant, who apparently held no official government position. Another apology by Park was issued, and an offer to work with the parliamentary opposition to form a new cabinet and relinquish some power also failed to quell the crisis, prompting proponents to say she did not grasp its severity. Park has dismissed some of her most senior and closest advisors, and former aides have been arrested on charges of abuse of power. Funny that they can do that in South Korea, but there's been previous evidence of that going on in America, and none of that took place. So kudos to the South Korean people. Perhaps they're realising now that they have a cabal government, and they're trying to get rid of it. It's rather interesting, and please don't take this as a divide and conquer, but as a bigger picture thing. How many females are now in place in cabal countries' governments? It is increasing and also concerning. Good and bad in both. There's enough bad men as well, but it's an interesting side issue. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has warned US President-elect Donald Trump that going it alone is not an option for Europe or the United States. He said the West faces its greatest security challenge in its generation. During his election campaign, Mr. Trump described Western military alliance NATO as obsolete. He suggested that the US would think twice about coming to the aid of any NATO ally under attack if it had not paid its dues. Mr. Stoltenberg conceded that Mr. Trump had a point about the need for some members to make a bigger financial contribution, as the US currently accounted for almost, wait for it, 70% of NATO spending. 70%. It beggars belief. Add to the 640 billion that comes out of our taxes, plus all the other money that goes to Israel, and you realise why this country is bankrupt. Because all of it is spent on militaristic needs, and in my opinion the military should be disbanded and repurposed. We've had enough. The people have had enough of being used as the war machine. Too much has been done in our name. We've been embarrassed around the world because of it. You know, we're not the world's police force. In fact, if we withdrew all of our troops, the reality is the world would be a safer place. So yes, Mr. Trump is right. We shouldn't be giving NATO anything. If Europe wants a NATO, let them fund it. We, the American people, are tired of funding everything. And contrary to what Mr. Keenan thinks, no, it's not the East, it's the American people that's funding it. Period. Mr. Stoltenberg went on that American leaders had always recognised that they had a profound strategic interest in a stable and secure Europe. Well, perhaps Europe should be more interested in a stable and secure Europe by not positioning NATO troops along Russian borders. That's not making Europe stable or secure. The International Criminal Court prosecutors, of which Russia has been barred or stepped out this week, said that a preliminary probe indicates that members of the US armed forces and the CIA have committed war crimes by torturing detainees in Afghanistan. Prosecutors have to clear several hurdles before formally bringing the case before the court in The Hague, in Holland. The prosecutors have said they have not yet decided whether to launch a full-scale investigation, but will decide soon. But they went on to say even if an investigation is launched, it would be difficult to bring charges. That's because they corrupt it. Why should it be? Why can't Interpol get involved and protect those people and launch a full investigation? This type of criminality has to stop. The court does not normally interview witnesses or gather forensic evidence. The Foreign Policy magazine reported recently. The prosecution office said in its report, issued late on Monday, that US Armed Forces personnel appear to have subjected at least 61 detained persons to torture in Afghanistan, mainly in the time period 2003 through 2004. The report also stated that CIA operatives may have tortured at least 27 detainees in Afghanistan and elsewhere, mainly in the same time period. The United States is not a member of the court, but its citizens could face prosecution if they commit crimes in a country that is a member, such as Afghanistan, according to the Foreign Policy. Right, we've got a couple of more bits and probably go into an early music break, and then we'll throw some intel out and then go into a multitude of questions. Back to America. Where are we next? I've covered that. I've covered that. California and Texas are proceeding or making moves on seceding from the United States, or the federal portion of it anyway. And that appears to be gathering pace, as now Oregon has decided to join California and Texas on seceding. Of course, we heard last week about the people in California claiming that it is the 6th largest economy in the world. Funny how it's in such massive debt then, and they should have a bigger say. Well, he did have a bigger say in the election. I still don't, being a Brit, I still don't understand how one state has 55 votes and you can win about 12 other states and still not get that amount from California. I don't know how that matches up, but that's how the system operates here. It still doesn't make much sense, but it is what it is. So news out today, which may be a sign of the times, things coming up. The US Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, has submitted his letter of resignation. He sent a letter to the Congressional panel today. He told the House Intelligence Committee that it felt pretty good, and the 75-year-old top American spy has been expected to step aside as President-elect Donald Trump prepares to appoint his own officials. Read between the lines. Couple of bits of word magic that people need to grasp, and then I'm going to go into a couple of other things. People often ask, all these people doing bad things, and do they get karma? Well, karma comes from the Buddhism, and the sum of a person's actions in one lifetime, which determines his or her form, in the next. So it's not necessarily karma playing out in this lifetime. It does have some effect, but not as much as maybe some of us would like. And it comes from the Sanskrit karma: action, work, deed, and fate. So maybe that explains why some people appear to be able to do the most heinous things and get away with it. Maybe that explains it. Now the other thing that's come up due to some interaction with certain people who remain nameless at this point, but you hear a lot of people talking about empaths. So I've decided to look that up because it's a fairly recent addition, and given it's largely inherent from the New Age, which was largely a program driven via the agency people, perhaps this might make people think. EM means to put into. Think about it. These are the people that set up these words. So they're telling you they're putting you into a path. Problem is, which path? Well, we all think to feel empathy or sympathy with somebody else. But it's putting, the words tell you, it's putting you into a path. Now, EM is the extended version of M, the letter M. the path of M. Those of you who've been following this show may suggest that that may be the path of Marduk. Think about it. Right, I did a test with a couple of people and none of them got this correct. Lots of people have been questioning, and rightly so, as long as it's done in a good manner. You know, we put stuff out on this show, and some of it is a bit off the wall, and some of it gets validated, and some has to be held over. But probably the biggest one recently is to do with Hillary Clinton, and the fact that we reported she had died on September the 4th. As I understand it, that is still correct. Now, many have said, but I've seen it on the TV. And yes, you've seen something on the TV that they tell you is Hillary Clinton. But can you 100% prove it is her? No. No more than I can 100% prove that she's actually dead. Now, there's been talk of robotics. Now, the being or thing representing Hillary, and the first conference after the staged event of falling into the car, there was 2 bodyguards, one at the bottom of the steps and one at the top, as Hillary went up the stairs, or the person representing Hillary. Now, with robotics, they struggle on terrain. Once Hillary got onto the stage, those 2 bodyguards left. They returned when she came off. Robots struggle to go up and down terrain. Something to bear in mind. And then people say to me, but it sounded just like her. Now, there's technology way beyond what most people can understand, including myself. Some argue or point out that they're 100 years ahead. Some have said as much as 1,000 years ahead. Look how far we've come in this lifetime. Even in the last 20 years. You know, look at the music industry, how much the vehicles for playing the music has changed. Vinyl records, cassette tapes, CDs and DVDs. And then onto little iPads. It's changed drastically. So, in the last 10 to 15 years, there's been a very public figure who is a robot. Think about it. And I'll put you out of your misery, because the other 2 that I approached it with didn't get it either. That person's name is Stephen Hawking. That technology is 10, 15 years ago. Is Stephen Hawking talking? No, it's coming through a machine. So when people say to me, Hillary's speaking, it's her voice, maybe you need to think again. Stephen Hawking can't speak anymore. He's talking through a computer. Same voice. Hope that made you think. Right, we're going to go into... no, we're not. We're going to have some more intel. So, Mr. Clapper, who has resigned, was one of the Bush people. and was hired by them. And of course he played along with the Bush group game. He was there to give sanction to the unsanctionable. So his role is now ended. So the removal of Mr. Clapper is part of the Eliminate Bush Family Control Plan, which we all would like to see. Well, there's the start of it. You're going to see a lot more moving and shaking going on. There's vast volumes of people trying to position and people being knocked out, including all the big names. And I mean the big names. The names that get put on the page. Why is X, Y and Z still operating, still walking this very earth? They're all under discussion. To those people, have this song. Hi all and welcome back to the show. Dead or Alive, that has meaning now. Make no bones about it. It has meaning. It's not a threat. There are many people around the world who are tired of the named people who think they can mess with humanity at all costs. Personally, I would have liked to have seen it done a long time ago. Certain individuals like to negotiate, and I understand that. But we've gotten to a point now where we have them largely over a battle. The boot is on the other foot now, and we will not take the foot off the throat. So that's a message to the clowns who still think they can play with people and humanity. We ain't messing anymore. Everything is on the table. You were given more than fair offers to step down, go and live out your life in peace, as long as you didn't interfere at any stage with humanity. You threw it in our faces. You were then offered further negotiations. You threw it again. You then tried to steal funds, and steal funds again, and steal funds again, and steal funds again. Yes, like a stuck record. And except you can't keep stealing funds. They run out. You can't stay in the game. So actions will be forthcoming to certain individuals who continue to mess with humanity. No ifs or buts. And will be carried out. Second song kind of explains me really. A simple man, working man, who lives for freedom. That's all we need. Once obtain it, then we have a personal responsibility to ourselves and to each other to support and look after each other. The last thing we need is to repeat the failings of the cabal, where greed and power overcomes the basics of life. Personal responsibility, easily said, but not easily done. Too many think that gives them the license to do what they want. Do unto others, common law, natural law. It's only 4 rules. Just abide by them. It's fairly simple. Life is simple. It's been made complex by idiots to confuse and take you off your path. Except they're on a different path to us now. I explained in a recent show about 2 worlds. And this is how I see it. What we've got now is 2 worlds simultaneously alongside each other. I do have a diagram that would explain this a lot easier. But unfortunately Facebook won't allow me to load it. Go figure. But I'll try to explain it. In these 2 worlds, we're looking at people and thinking they're not in reality. Many in the white community are aghast at the behaviour or the apathy of the people who won't or just point blank refuse to look at truth. We have a major disconnect. This was forecast in the show last year. I mentioned it last year. And I also said, be prepared. It may involve your loved ones. It may involve your parents. It may involve your children. It may involve your aunts and uncles, your friends. There's no rhyme or reason or family ties to who accepts the truth or not. And the people who are asleep and oblivious and carry on wearing the slavery suits think we're out of reality. We're living simultaneously with these people. They're just on a different path. And then you get people in the community, awake community, trying to put you back to sleep by giving you a load of bullshittery. We've largely shut that down this year. Kudos to Randy Morgans for his role in that. There's very few articles now in the alternative media that raises anything resembling truth. It stooped to new lows this week. Yeah, I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or headbutt the monitor when I saw the post about somebody getting emails from the Prime creator. I mean, oops. Perhaps we should all send our emails to Santa and see what we get for Christmas. Maybe George Soros on a platter. Would be nice. But, so we're in 2 worlds currently, as I see it. We're living together simultaneously. Now this goes into something that I was involved with a couple of years ago, and everyone's been talking about the loops. Well, not everyone, certain individuals have. How we've been trapped into 6 loops of 13,000 years, and this time the loop ended. So we're not going into the Draco repeat loops, which is why many people have gone insane. Just repeat patterns over and over again. So when the coincidence comes round, or the cabal know what to do next, it's because it happened in the previous loop. Except this time, it's not. So we were on a natural wave, and you're going to have to envision this now. I would have liked to put the drawing up. If you just envision a single natural frequency wave line, which starts at the left and goes up and then curves down and up and down like a wave. Then if you draw another line which starts at the left, but it starts at the top, not the bottom, and goes down instead of up, and it intersects with the natural wave, that is the holographic overlay, which cancels out the natural. The veil, people call it many, many things. It's the holographic overlay. It's like the work of, was it Dr. Rife, if memory serves me correctly, who dealt with frequencies that can, if you get the right code, you can cancel any disease out of the body by using a frequency. But if you find out the code, you overlay it and it vanishes. So this is why we've been off the natural plane. No, and I don't mean by plane flat earth. Now, you've got two waves. One cancels the other out. If you turn those two intersecting lines and turn it 90 degrees and look down, what you'll see is a row of figure eights. That is the loop. Now, what took place 2 years ago wasn't that involved people from this planet and also people not, or beings not. There was a cutting of the loop. So as the final two lines that intersect for the bottom of the 8, there's a gap, and we either all escape it, or we go back into another figure 8, another loop. This time it was cut. So when I said there'll be two paths we can go on, what's left is the wavelines will continue, but it can't intersect anymore. The bottom line is the natural wave, the natural frequency, which has been reported earlier in this show, is at 93%. It may be higher now. So you'll start to see things differently. You'll start to see people differently. The other wave will continue, but not intersect with the natural wave anymore. It will go off on its own path. That's the holographic path. What you may find, and this is my theory, what you may find is the people who were not in reality, were not real to begin with. They were holographic. So we may start, if my theory is correct, we may start seeing people disappear. us remember these are only vessels that we inhabit at this time, for this lifetime. The reincarnation loop that they kept us in is now ended. That was ended in 2014. So there's no more Draco fun and games. They still think they can come back and play more games. They'll quickly realise they'll have to think again, along with the mantids and the others who think they can come here and mess with humanity. Not no more, you can't. So I'm going to try and get someone who's a bit more technically minded than I am, as it's asked me to put it in certain GIFs or all kinds of, and I'll see if I can get the drawing I've got that explains it. It's a lot harder to say it than to see it, but this is the way that I see it. It's something, when the drawing comes out, the top 3 parts were what came to me in the dream time. I was given it. It then showed how it can be ended. Shortly after, it was. Right, we're going to go into some intel now. People have been complaining on the page that Mr. Trump might pick Giuliano as his Secretary of State. I'm not too sure that's a good idea, given Trump said he would be investigating 9/11, and Mr. Giuliano is in it up to his neck. But when you find out who spoke to Trump yesterday and told him that he will insert himself as the Secretary of State, you may want to think again on Giuliano. Mr. Trump had a visit by none other than Kissinger. He told Trump not to be going to Japan. The reason why? Because Mr. Kissinger has been stealing funds from and through Japan. And so he advised Mr. Trump against saying anything or going there. He also instructed Mr. Trump to insert him as the Secretary of State for America. Mr. Kissinger, please do one. We've had enough of your fun and games, and I suggest he should be probably the first on the first song we just played, because his style of meddling in countries is legendary. Rumour has it Mr. Kissinger is an old soul that has been chased around the universe for a very long time. So we've got Mr. Trump in office, and you think it's all over. So did I. Except certain people think it's not. Certain brats by the name of Android is unbelievably still trying to get into office, saying that she won the popular vote by 1.5 million and is now approaching the Electoral College to overturn the result. It will fail. I think it's time the military overturned Android, personally. A blight on this country, like Kissinger. I was told last night that all the top brass were in Reno yesterday, and that information was correct, confirmed today. They tried on Tuesday to implement the Treasury Reserve Note of the world, not of America, of the world. More dodgy paper, fiat money. It failed. So Mr. Reid, Drake's mate, Harry Reid, got together with Chinese elders in inverted commas, who said they were going to release gold for the TRN in Reno today. All the military clowns with their handful of dinars all turned up. Some of the very top people, political people, were there. All the top brass were all there. All the agencies were all there, ready for the handout. Except one thing: the Chinese elders couldn't pay. Oops. And found out that they had no access to any funds to fund TRN or the RV. Rest assured, the people that turned up are not best pleased today. Like I kept saying last week, it failed. They keep trying and they keep failing. I wish they'd keep trying and banging their head against a brick wall, because one day it'll completely explode. It might do everyone a favour. So, other attempts have been made. The cabal are trying to gain access to mines in South America now, and so they can leverage the deposits there and fund the TRN again. But they found out yesterday that they have no draw on it, and in fact owe funds to the said mines, and so they've been cut off from that as well now. It beggars belief, and that's not the end of it, trust me. There's more to come shortly. Mr. Trump has been given an official warning that there's a hit out on him. I won't give you the names who issued that, because it's a bit sensitive, but Trump is under threat of being taken out by the cabal. He's being heavily protected at the moment. He's being heavily lent on at the moment. I can assure you he is now a lot calmer and not shitting his pants like he was last week. And so he carries on with creating his cabinet unabated, but heavily guarded. The Dakota pipeline now suspended. The Army Corps of Engineers have decided collectively to rethink the route of the pipeline in Dakota, declaring it unsafe or incorrect to route through that region. We don't expect that to go any further. So we hope to see something more details coming out about that. But I think the native people may have won. We'll wait further news on that. The UN, about them. It's been relayed to me that once the Paris Treaty is reversed, which it will be wound down or completely repurposed. No more UN. NATO is already started being wound down. Of course, Trump mentions that we were not going to fund it anymore. Without our funding, they don't have a NATO. Next on the list, Council of Foreign Relations. Oops. Go and check the list of names in that, and then you realise where we're going. Right, last piece of intel. You think the theft goes unnoticed? They seem to think that it goes unnoticed, but it doesn't. This morning, the UN got caught stealing wire transfers from the Federal Reserve. Basically, anything they consider to be sizable was being diverted to Switzerland. And this has been done in order to get real spendable cash to the Rothschilds. Oops. That means the Rothschilds haven't got any money, as said in this show. You know, many mightn't believe it, but there's your answer. They're all struggling. Chinese elders and stupid dragon families, bogus I might add, both of them, can't fund the TRN or the RV. The cabal can't fund the American faction, can't fund the TRN or RV. The American and Asian faction can't fund the 1 to 2 million army to rout out the Middle East. They can't afford to pay the ISIS anymore, and so they're left on their own and they're getting routed by the Iraqi army. They can't afford to be in Syria anymore, and that appears to be winding down. They lost heavily in Ukraine, and NATO, despite as warned on this show, were setting up troops on the Russian border, is now disbanding. And people say nothing's happening. Oh, it is. And so the reason why the UN was stealing wire transfers from the Federal Reserve is to get the funds to the Rothschilds. Now the Rothschilds, for their part, have failed to pay CNN, amongst others. CNN are struggling to meet their paychecks. They haven't paid governments, and they haven't paid mercenaries. Some of those mercenaries are not too pleased, I might add. Now, the Rothschilds tried, as mentioned last week, to stage manage a stock market crash, which, once it went down 800 to 1,000 points, would then leverage them to crash the US dollar by 50% in one day on the Thursday. It failed, and it failed. And so, not only that, is the Bushes and many of the other big names, including Soros, old melted candle face, lost heavily by short betting on the stock market crash. That didn't take place. Desperation is sinking in. And so now a lot of the factions are completely broke. Their planned market crash did not take place because the people that are connected to this show made sure it didn't. So they got busted. But they're not only stealing from big accounts, they're stealing from ordinary people accounts as well, I might add. It got blocked. So once they got these if they'd have got these funds through, they were hoping to pay innocent historical bondholders and dinar people with this cash, because a lot of the mercenaries have been paid by the bogus dinar. Doesn't even exist. There's two versions of it. They're demanding they want real cash now. They haven't got it. Of course, they knew full well and good that there would be an electronic trace, and they would go down for stealing from the Fed, and the Rothschilds could then freeze the funds, steal them, make them clean, and make them allocated. Cabal, it failed. I think that's my new saying after bullshittery. So that's the gist of the intel for this week. I hope you all grasp. I know it's kind of difficult. People are asking, well, when's it going on the news? Well, part of it is, but you have to learn to put two and two together. But what you will gather from the recent shows is the volume of programs they've tried to do, and every single one has failed. They're being routed. If it was a boxing match, it would have been stopped months ago. But these people are completely retarded. They know no better. Almost like programmed robots. One day, their game will be up. I'm hoping that day is sooner rather than later. Directives have changed. We will no longer tolerate this type of interfering in people's lives. We've gained many, many alliances, big ones, over the last 6, 7, 8 months. All who have now witnessed what we've been telling them. It's not conspiracy, it's fact. They've seen it right in front of their face. The clowns yesterday or today at Reno, going there yet again. I don't know how many times they've gone there with their bundles of dinars to collect their 0800 numbers. Sounds like a porn site to me. You know, where did he come up with this stuff? 0800 numbers. Go and get your 0800 number. Yes, go and stand there, wait in line, and watch us make a complete fool out of you. But that's basically what happens every single time. So there you have it. The people are fighting back. We fought back heavily. The ET stuff is now largely negated, and we're now starting to rout out the clowns on the surface and below. So I hope you enjoyed that bit of intel. Yes, it's more fun and games, and they'll still keep trying, but now you're seeing the sheer desperation of a dying entity. Like I said to Shane, the ruiner, he said the cabal infighting, quote unquote, is trimming the fat. And that the cabal had become too big to control. My response is, not only will they trim the fat, but they'll start eating the lean. It will get to a point where their existence is futile. Over the coming weeks and months, we should really see that in action. Right, I think I'm going to play another couple of songs because I need a drink. I've been struggling with kidney stones all day, and I'll play a couple of songs. I found this group this week, some really good music that I hope you'll like, and then we'll come back with some Q&As before the end of the show. Bye for now. Hi all, and welcome to the final part of tonight's show. It's like two different songs there, and most of you will not be familiar with who they are. So the first one, Sleeping at Last, is the name of the group, and that was called Saturn. Sleeping at Last, Saturn. Yes, it is. That being was removed in 2015. Saturn, Satan, Set, Typhon. Never to return. Sleeping at Last. So it's kind of fitting. And the second one is going out to Andrew Simmons, who recommended this song. And I believe it's upset some of you in a good way. And the song's called Remember by Omkara. Omkara. So if you want to check that out, remember who you are, remember what you are. Of course, that's the part of my little piece at the end of the show. And once we all remember, we'll kind of kick ourselves of what we've put ourselves through. We have kind of been silly in descending this far down the scale, but we will remember and we will prevail. Right, let's go into some questions and answers. I'll see how many I can get through. Thomas, could you please assure us that whilst your friends are sitting on Trump, that they have their eyes on Mike Pence, who apparently is a serial child rapist and a murderer? And this person says he's the very scary elephant in the room. All of them are being monitored, and I mean all. So I wouldn't say he's scarier than Hillary. Far from it. I don't think there's anyone more scary than Android. What do you think about all the assassinations put against Trump? He also said he'll work closely with Putin to wipe out ISIS. Putin does prefer Trump over Hillary, and about 10 big companies have pulled out supporting Trump, some related to the cabal. I'm not taking sides on Trump is good or bad, just open-minded. Well, Putin's link was largely because of Trump's wife being a KGB agent, as mentioned last week. It's all about getting certain of our resources handed over to Russia, whereby they would control the United States of America. That will no longer allowed to take place. So there is a lot of bullets with Trump's name on it from both sides. He's like Marmite. That's going back to my UK days. Some love it and some hate it. There's no in between. Personally, I remember saying a couple of weeks ago, and someone asked me what I was smoking, but I kind of explained or gave a heads up of what to expect. You know, it largely doesn't matter whether it matters that it wasn't Hillary. Let's get that right off the bat. But who took the place largely doesn't matter unless you deal with the shadow government. You could put Drake in there, you could put Luna Lisa in there, Holly in there. You know, even the B-Man, Dave Biondell. And you can reel out all these programs that's going to be great for humanity. But if you've still got the shadow people operating the strings, you're not going to go anywhere. And this is largely what's happened, largely, not totally, largely what's happened to Obama, as I've been told. It doesn't matter who you put in there unless you change what happens with the string pullers. Currently, that is what's taking place. And I hope that continues. I expect it to continue, and I expect it to be more visible in the coming couple of months. Will Obama be pardoning the Clintons and their buddies before he leaves office? And will Obama continue to stay in office until January the 20th? Well, Obama hasn't been in office much. He was actually in office less than idiot Bush, which took some doing. The boy likes to play golf a lot. You know, I think he's the least attended president in history, as I understand it. But yes, officially he's still in office until January 20th. As for him pardoning the Clintons, as I understand it, privately, Mr. Obama has ceased support for the Clintons, period. I'm not expecting it could change, but I can't see how he will be pardoning them, because the people involved in that are that split at the moment. The agencies are split down the middle, including the mirror groups, and so is the Pentagon. There's a major war going on at the moment. Thankfully it's not a weapons one, it's a battle of minds and intelligence. Some would say that there's some in those buildings who have very little of it, intelligence that is, but there you go. Are the high level meetings still going on? Yep. 24/7 pretty much. Some of our people are still working 20 hours a day to stop and prevent things going on and set up other things that can lead to a better future for humanity. So we thank all them people. Any further updates on the Bush family ranch? I gave an update last week. They found a load of dodgy powder, and further investigations are ongoing, as I understand it. Someone asked the question, why is it not on the news? There's lots of things not on the news. You don't think they're going to know that at this point? Maybe one day they will. Does the AI have a soul? No, it's just a computer program, and a largely defunct one, as I understand it. It's being repurposed to suit humans and not lizards. So, will Hillary's crimes be swept under the rug now she's no longer in the spotlight, and will she be pardoned? Good question. I can't particularly answer that. I would hope not. But then, if certain things... This goes back... I'm going to bring this up again, because when I first brought it up, Drake kind of poo-pooed the idea, and I understand why that is. But what I would like to see, you see, when we get disclosure, it's going to tip people over the edge whether you're awake or not. It just is. Because the volume of it is extraordinary on every single level. You'll find out that the American public has been poisoned far more than you realise. You've been tested on far more than you realise. You've been mind controlled far more than you realise, and interfered with via implants and all kinds of other stuff, far more than you realise. Now, do we want the truth? Some of us do. Some of us say we want the truth, but then go into panic mode when it comes out. And that's natural. When you've been lied to for this long, it's a natural reaction if you are unable to process it in a comfortable manner. It largely depends on your state when you hear the news. People remember me mentioning about reading about super soldier stuff, and I warned you, you have to be in a good state. I've also warned you to stay away from it, because it's a deep rabbit hole, and not a particularly pleasant one either. So this, what I've been doing over the last 18 months, 2 years since I started speaking more, is stair-stepping people into the truth. 18 months ago I mentioned about dealing with your shadow side. There was a reason for that, as you have all found out this year. If you are carrying negative baggage with you, this truth will hang heavy on that negative baggage. That's why some people are struggling with the truth trauma. Now you have to start releasing and looking at, on an individual basis, what it is that still bothers you, where you're abused by a parent, be it sexually, physically or mentally. Could have been a close family friend, or was it a close friend of yours who really hurt you or bullied you or whatever. Whatever that trauma may be, you have to let it go. You have to forgive yourself and the person who did the damage to you. That's not easy. Many people, I was sent a book this week, and I don't read books normally, but I thought this one piqued my interest, about multiple personality disorder. Now what happens is, a person suffers a trauma. Say a 6-year-old is interfered with sexually at 6. That person retains that time, and an altar is created inside the body. If that trauma is repeated, you're creating more and more altars. This is the spirit people. Some of those altars are not harmful, but some of them are. Some of the people who experience this, you may find has a babyish voice, because that's the altar operating the adult. This is why it's so important that people come forward with their stories. Many of you who listen to the show or on the page have come forward to myself or Chloe when she was part of it, and released it. Don't hold on to it. It's the most damaging thing you can do. If you're holding bitterness towards other people because they've done harm to you, it's not helping you. You have to let it go. That way, when the truth comes in, which is a frequency, and it's a better one than the lie, you are able to absorb it a lot better, process it a lot easier, and wear it. That then cuts down on the truth trauma. Now, going back to what I kind of went off track there a bit, but if and when we get disclosure, small d, capital D has to come once we process small d, in my opinion. I think the capital D is too big straight off the bat with people who are already largely traumatized. If we, in the next few months, suddenly start getting disclosure with a small d, I recommend that we do it with full disclaimer. The last thing we need is 1,000 class action lawsuits, and it could well go that high for every individual, for the lives that have been done and the programming, etc., etc., etc. What use is it of taking people to courts under class action lawsuits when you can never be paid out? You can never really be compensated. If a male, as it does happen, or a female is raped, does money take the pain away? No. Absolutely not. So, I personally would like to see disclosure come with disclaimer. Those people will be dealt with in private. Make no mistake about it. They will not go unpunished. But I don't feel that dragging them through the streets is the way we should act going forward. That's their way. It has been mentioned earlier about torturing people in Afghanistan, and we've all seen the pictures and the videos of the fun and games. Rather sick some of the soldiers did with the Iraqi people. That's not a civilized society. We have an obligation and a duty to be better than they are. Many people might not agree with that. They might want full-on public justice, and I understand that just as well. But let's not get embroiled once we obtain freedom and the truth in 1,000 class action lawsuits that serves no purpose than prolong the trauma all of us have experienced. So Hillary's crimes will not be swept under the rug. And I wouldn't say she's no longer in the spotlight, but she still thinks, or the entity operating as her thinks, she can carry on. I think there will be a massive public outcry if any attempt to pardon Clinton. There will be a massive outcry in the military, in the Pentagon, and also in the agencies. And they won't be allowed to pull that off. Was the zombie virus spread by chemtrails? It hasn't been spread as yet. That's the Zika. It was a cabal program that was supposed to be rolled out. It failed. Any further attempts will also fail. So what I'm telling you is it's a fixed issue. Others might tell you different, and that's fine also. What I'm telling you is it failed. And no, it doesn't have an official name. That is the name, the zombie virus. Is this the virus that discovered in the thawing Siberian ice pack? No. It was created in labs in the United States of America. I would like to see a task force once the clean-up starts of people representative from all walks of life, be it military, scientific, bacterial, explosive experts, march through all these buildings, the virus labs, the genetic labs, the underground bases, and all the other secret black budget programs. And if it's not in humanity's for humanity's best, it completely trashed out of existence. No, we will not keep viruses for other idiots further down the line whose power goes to the head and decides to use on the future of humanity. You erase them altogether so they no longer exist. So there's no oops, that's gone missing, or oops, we've spilt this, or let's fly a plane over an American town and drop it and see how the people react to it, so we can test for the war when we use it on the battlefield. That's not civilized behaviour. So that's what I would like to see happen. Every underground base, every square inch of it, turned upside down, analysed and assessed whether it's valid going forward for a free and better world. What is likely to happen? I explained that before. There's a possibility that people will vanish. Not necessarily buildings, but people. It's just a theory, but it's looking increasingly likely. If it's a holographic projection, nobody really knows how far the holograph goes. So these people who you think are completely out of touch with reality, you've told them this and told them that, and they just can't or won't see it. Maybe they're not real. Food for thought. Could you elaborate on your statement that the person known as William Mount has gone missing? Who is that and the significance? Well, I haven't heard of his extinction level events. Mr. Mount is full of his biblical fear porn crap, and predicted 3 extinction level events within 6 months between September and February, March. They all failed, and you're best not listening to his pile of claptrap, to be quite honest. Were the recent earthquakes in New Zealand, underground bunkers and cabal being taken out? Not too sure on that. I haven't had a chance to check up on that. I would suggest not, given the depths of some of it. Seems to be the only thing I can reference for it. There's so many things ongoing now, even if you listen to the intel about how much is going on and how much is going on in the government and the finances and dealing with governments around the world. It's difficult to keep track of everything at this moment. But what happened in New Zealand 5 years ago, the cabal shook Christchurch big time after they refused, the cabal, to have their island away from humanity down there. Maybe it's history repeating itself. Maybe not. I'll see if I can get more details on that. But at this moment, I do not think it's a cabal issue. Did the person come to sign the paper you talked about on last week's show for the foundation? They didn't. It wasn't needed in the end. We went with a different bank, and that is now all completed. I was hoping that it was going to be today for an announcement on the show tonight, but I'm hoping by Monday at the latest that the funds to kickstart the foundation will be in place. Is the British government really happy with Trump, or does it mess with their plans? Some of them it will, and some of it won't. Not all of them in the government are all cabal. Some of them are low level and quite happy to jump out given the platform to do so. I know he's not popular over there. So they did a petition to block him coming into the country a few months back. I think it was over 100,000 who signed it. I wish they'd do that for their own politicians and petition them to get out. Let me see what's next. I'm trying to. This is our Dutch friend Tanique, and sometimes it's a bit difficult getting a grasp on it, but I'll try. Will George Soros, now I presume you mean declare martial law? No, there will not be martial law here, period. It will not be allowed to happen. I've been saying that for the last 2 years. They can't carry it out, period. They do not have the resources to do so. They also don't have support of certain factions of the military to do so either, or the militia. So those who are concerned, and some of them who fled because of impending martial law, will realise that they shouldn't have done that. Here's the I can't understand that one. Right. What is my opinion on a group called Anonymous helping to take down the cabal, or are they a pile of bullshittery? Both. Like everything else, the cabal mirror groups it. The Illuminati, as I understood it, was a good organisation to begin with, but it got taken over. Some of the Freemasons groups in the beginning were good and got taken over. Anonymous started off well and got infiltrated like the White Hats and taken over. And most of the stuff put out labelled as anonymous is now agency rubbish, and it's not easy to discern which is which, so it's probably best to ignore. You know, Anonymous have been making threats they're going to do this, this, this and this for many years now. We're still waiting. The real anonymous people are not on the internet. There you go. Did George Soros die? Unfortunately, the Melted Candle Man, no. He was at a meeting yesterday. But he's kind of got under top brass's skin, is all I'll say. I'm hearing he possibly died of a heart attack. No, that's not possible. He doesn't have one. Have I had the chance to ask the UPU if Devil's Tower was a tree at one time? No, too busy. Where are we next? Did the Antarctica gathering have anything to do with the New Zealand earthquakes? There is no information that anything took place in Antarctica by anybody currently. Have you got any news at all about anything in South Africa? I heard the elite want to flee to South Africa. No, they don't want to flee, they want to trash it. Sorry. Mr. Prince, Eric Prince, is building robots for a takeover of Africa. Or so they think. They thought they were going to take over the Middle East. It failed, and attacking South Africa will also fail. Where are we for time? Do you know if clubs like the Elks Lodge are good or bad? I'm not too sure. Lodge is more indicative of Freemasons, and they are ritualistic in nature. Not all. like everything else, it depends on what level you are at in the lodge. There's people join the Freemasons, which I think it's a good old boys' club, but I have no idea what the levels above 13 are up to. You get inklings below that, but the reality is far removed from the lower levels of the Masons. They have no idea. Are the people being picked by Trump to form the interim government? Partially, as I understand it, partially. There's obviously certain ones that will not be allowed. I'm hoping that the people, along with Mr. Trump, finds a place, and a prominent one at that, for a Native American person. If we're going to go forward with truth, and some of the cabal are going to be exposed and dealt with, let's go forward properly. I've said all along I would have liked a Native American as the first American real government since 1871. We owe them. We've kind of ruined their lives and their way of life and corrupted them. There's many in the Native American groups that are just as corrupt as the cabal. In fact, they've become part of it, with their casinos and all kinds of other fun and games. But there's a lot of people who, in that community, who are people we should look up to, people we should listen to. Many of us in the Western world has gone away from nature, and that's deliberate by the cabal. So you can't look after yourself. So you just have to eat their processed pieces of cardboard and paper. It's got the same nutritional value anyway. But they will teach you the original ways of being in harmony with nature, a spiritual way. They'll also teach you about ETs. Not telling any of them about disclosure, because they already know. So I would hope Mr. Trump and the people working with him insert a prominent Native American, a non-corrupt one preferably, who's people-based and spiritual-based, not commerce or militaristic. That would be a major plus for this country, and a start of us correcting the damage we did to those peoples. Are there still living dinosaurs roaming the earth like raptors? Yes, the raptors, as I understand it, operate in Asia. Maybe some of them are the dragon roots. Why isn't the Bush bust being made public? Because they still control the media, period. Brief update on Mr. Putin. Is he in or out? I don't think Mr. Putin knows whether he's coming or going at the moment. He's found out to his cost that he made the wrong choice on quite a multitude of things. He thought he was more important than he realises. Yes, you may have the title, Mr. Putin, but you don't have the control or the power anymore. Your codes don't work. Oops. Mr. Putin's also found out that other factions plan to oust him once they have used him. So he's had quite a few harsh lessons, and I've said he could go either way. That's not me hedging bets. It's just the nature of what took place with the being known as Putin. One hopes he listens to the people who speak to him. He'll know. Why do we consider Earth our planet when the reptilians have lived on it millions of years before? Because it's our time. It's a learning planet. We haven't learned. And we haven't learned largely because of their interference. And going forward, we will not have the interference. And it's up to us whether we become an adult race or continue to play children where we are controlled. That's the task that goes before us in the coming decades. Are we going to become a type 1 civilization from type 0? The only way we do that is by all working together, caring and sharing the resources, not based on what alleged country it comes from. We share all the resources. Can you go into Ben Fulford's latest report? Why is it crap? I can't remember. There was so much in it, but it was just kind of elicited that particular response. The part where they mentioned the Pentagon and Trump is the most ridiculous nonsense I've read in the last few months, and I've read some rubbish. So that was the main source of ire. Love to hear your opinion on Alexander Meadows' post in which a fellow member posted to the group. This is the email. During the break, the music break, I got an email off the Prime creator, and he asked me had the Cabal completed the TRN yet. I replied back no, and they never will. So that's my opinion on that. Deary me, I really all know. Is Trump now fully on board with the light forces, and is he aware of the plan for humanity fully? If not, what is he aware of currently? Well, I don't know how far he's been ready at this point. I don't know how far he's been allowed to make full decisions. What I do know is he will not be allowed to sign off on TRNs, RVs, or any treaties or agreements that are not fitting in with America. The fact that it's been mentioned that NATO could well be disbanded means that America has pulled out of NATO. So that is suggestive of the way things are going to go going forward. The TPP is rumoured to be being cancelled as of last Saturday. I still haven't got full confirm on that. The Paris Treaty is not being signed by America, period. We're not handing over any resources to the UN. If anything, we're going to disband it. So I am not too sure of how far Mr. Trump has been read in. Well, what I do know is things are being done for the benefit of this country and its people a lot more than previous regimes have. And he hasn't even gone into office yet. What is the meaning of the gold strings around the flags behind the president? means we're at war, and it also means it's part of the British establishment. Maritime law, as I get it. When will the free energy and healing tech be allowed? When we get a clear run at it, which means removing all the idiots. America needs the healing tech more than anything else. The free energy, we've got energy. There's people around the world who haven't got any. Replicators are of little use to us currently if we start having less to spend out on, i.e. taxes. So what a lot of American people do need is healing tech. So I'm hoping if we get one particular tech in this country, that would be the choice I would make. I think it's rather urgent. Is there any way normal people, who's normal? Am I normal? Are you normal? Is anyone normal these days? It's not a normal planet anymore. Can protect ourselves from entrainment technology, voice to skull, nano chip, etc. Any of these advanced technologies? Well, some already are. There's 15% who can't be brainwashed or mind controlled. So there's some, it just comes naturally for whatever reason that is. There's various theories as to why, but it just is what it is. The other thing is get in touch with yourself. Many of us don't do this because it's considered kind of pseudoscience as such, or it's new age or whatever. But the meditation, once you get into it, and of course you have to, at the beginning, you have to start believing it. Why do the cabal are able to pull off certain tasks? Because they think big. Most of us think small. They think big. They get big. That's how it works. It works even more now in a source-based system. So if you get in touch with yourself, depending on how far you go with it, you'll be able to see inside. You'll also be able to remove anything. But you have to believe. That's the biggest stumbling block of what people believe in and what they don't. And many people don't believe in themselves. You have to change that. So go into the meditation state. Eventually you'll learn to go into that particular state without the music, without the beats. You can just be in it. And then search. You may be surprised what you find, but then remove it. You get yourself into a good frequency inside. You can then put a shielding technique that blocks all incoming corrupted frequencies. But, like I said, you've got to believe. Believe in yourself. Too many of us have given our power away to others. When you remember who and what you are, the idea of giving your power away to anybody else is ludicrous. So I hope that answers your question. I don't have a source of income at this time. I do have time. Is there any way I can help with a new program? I presume this is to do with the foundation. People want to donate, go to thepeoplesclub.org. If you want to donate your time or volunteer, there's some forms there you can fill in. You want to donate some funds, there's you can donate via that. The more we get in, like I've said on previous shows, if we get $1 a month off every American, it's 300 million. Imagine what we can do with that each month. We can fix everything ourselves. Why wait for governments? That's all it takes, $1 a month off every American. Food for thought again. What you can do is notify people. This is a good cause. Go and donate to it. Or if people are struggling, really struggling, put a proposal in. That's what it's there for. Next question. Will we ever get to a point where we will know for certain that arrests have been made and those responsible for this terrible state the world is in will answer for what they have done? I feel without this, healing our world will be very difficult, if not impossible. So this person's wanting it out on the mainstream media. Eventually it will come. We're still working on removing the elements connected to them. Are the good guys really the good guys, and are they watching our back and against what could be a wolf in sheep's clothing, the president? It seems the longer this goes, the further along they push us. When will we see dramatic sweeping changes? Ginger, you're being too negative. It's the same or similar stacked questions each week. I understand it. It's not a criticism, but you have to start seeing now what's taking place. There's lots of things taking place. There's lots of exposures that were all classed as conspiracies. The outing of Hillary and her crimes. You know, a lot of people. McCain. The list's endless. These 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 years were all classed as conspiracy. They're now being presented in the public. So they are dramatic changes. It depends on what you mean. Yes, we all want Clinton in front of a judge answering for her crimes. But in essence, it's already started. She didn't get the election, election she wanted. It was a one-horse race. She lost. That is a dramatic, sweeping change in anyone's book. But if you keep waiting for others to disclose what you already know, you're never going to find it. It's like people come to me and tell me they've seen ETs. They've had experiences with them. And then a couple of weeks later they ask a question to the show. When are we going to get disclosure about ETs? I don't know why you're asking. You've already had it. You've met them. Why do we keep waiting for others to validate what is already out there? Don't wait for me to tell you. You can already see it yourself. There's dramatic sweeping changes have already taken place. At this point, the most dramatic sweeping change is we're all still here. Some of us struggling, some of us not too well, but we're all still here. There's no World War III, there's no zombie virus, there's no alien, fake alien attack, there's no 90% population reduction, there's no stock market crash. There's your sweeping changes. It depends which way you look at it. Hope that helped you. Could you do a show on human origins on Earth as you understand it? Depends on what you mean by that. There's a couple of meanings by that. Maybe you'd have to clarify that a bit more. The Pope / Jesuits, where do they currently stand with the control system? Like the song Stained did, they're on the outside looking in. That doesn't mean to say they're not still a threat, but they're far less of a threat than the Nazis, the Zionists and the Asian faction. You don't hear too much of the secret societies these days, so they're another one, quiet. Now that Trump will become president, is there a chance that the pedophilia practices, the satanic rituals and the nepotism in politics and their associated levels will be addressed? I hope so. I would also, my personal opinion is, hope that's addressed in private. I don't think it's going to be too good for the general public to hear it in its full glory. That's just my opinion. Don't take my opinion. You have your own, each and every one that listens to the show. Do I have more background of what take place? Maybe. Than most. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. Some of the most heinous stuff you'll ever imagine. I'm not too sure that that's going to be beneficial to a people chasing freedom and making big changes and plans on healing humanity. My opinion is it should be dealt with behind closed doors and an announcement made to the sentence. Others are free to think different. In your opinion, do you think this will be our last incarnation? There's no R about it. Will it be your last one? Depends on what you mean. If it's last reincarnation into the loop, yeah. Those people, like the Guardians, who have been here for the last 150,000 years and have had no purpose, really need to go back to source. Many of the idiots who think they can parent us and control us really need to go back to source and start again. They think they can cheat death. Ultimately, it cheats you. And ultimately it catches up. And largely it has. It sends you completely insane. That's why the two parents, the twins that are left, are completely insane. A bit like the cabal. Trying to pull off TRNs every other day and failing every other day and still think they can win. Insane. Right, we're at the end of the show. So if you're new to this group, this is the Truth, Honour and Integrity. We have the Facebook page of the same name if you wish to join that. If you wish to take part in the foundation, donate or make a proposal, it's thepeoplesclub.org. Go and have a look at the website. It's been done rather nicely by Michael, and we all thank him for that. So, if you lead life in love and care, you will prevail. And we are, I might add. If you lead life in fear and anger, you will fail. Feel free for you to be the person you wish to be, not the person who conforms to what others want them to be. You are a multi-dimensional being operating simultaneously on many levels. You are not here to conform. You are not here to be stifled. You are not here to be enslaved. You are not here to be abused or to compete with your friends, family, or neighbours. You are here to be the best you can be and do so as the crown of creation. Now go on with the confidence of who and what you are and excel in yourself, and in doing so inspire others. My name's Thomas Williams. I'm going to leave you with this. Bye for now.
I'm sad to say